So we'd all like to live a life of purpose and passion, but following our dreams after 50 can be a scary proposition. Join us today for a discussion on what actions to take to create the life you've always wanted. We are back again with Elise Cortez on our conversation about finding meaning and purpose in your work after 50. Elise, thanks for joining us for another segment.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
We left our last segment, talking about your own story, which is just, gosh, I totally identify with it, and thank you for sharing it with us. I think a lot of viewers will be able to identify. So in this segment, what we'd like to do is, if there are people, if they're listening and, oh my gosh, this is me, how would you advise them to take action in terms of finding purpose and passion in life?
There's a lot of ways to go on that, but what I would certainly say is just start the investigation process. Start reaching into the universe, looking for ways to tentacle to that. So there's so much information out there about others who have been going down the same road, who want the same thing. Listening to their stories is powerful because it tells you you're not alone and you're not crazy. It's normal. It's natural. Go for it. Lean into it. So looking for other stories, I think, is really, really useful. And hearing a little bit about how they navigated and what were some of the triggers for them that made them realize that it was time to do something different or they wanted more. The next thing that I would absolutely encourage people to do is really to spend a little bit of quality alone time and really consider the things that they kept saying to themselves. One day I'm going to do this. And then you forgot about those one things that you were going to do over the years because life swept you up. But go back and remember those things and maybe spend a little bit of time journaling and then talking to people who've known you for some period of time and ask them, what did I say that I always wanted to do?
An interesting concept. Yeah, great advice. Go ahead.
What I would absolutely encourage people to do as they're going through the process of trying to figure out what maybe they might do in terms of making their purpose actionable and then later monetizing it is to go out there and start talking to people who are maybe doing some of the same kind of things that you think would be really, really interesting, really meaningful to you, and go interview them. Find out why are they doing it, how they get into it, what do they love about it, what's the hard stuff, can you make a living at this, how do you make a living at this? Right? And so those then conversations, then once you have one conversation with somebody, if you do it well, that should lead to at least one or two other conversations after that. Oh, you should meet so-and-so, just like you did with me earlier, right? So then it becomes this wonderful snowball effect. And I would say certainly that as you go through this process of really trying to reveal for yourself what's your purpose, what's your passion, and how can you activate it into your life to make it part of your world, whether that's your professional life or whether it threads through all other aspects of your life, is to really take care of yourself. We talked about how important exercise is. I will always stand on the rooftop and preach that. Exercise, eat well, take care of yourself, watch your weight. All those things really make a difference. Sleep well, get enough rest, and then plug into organizations or groups or whatever that are positive. Like, for example, I'm a runner. The Dallas Running Club is a great organization. There are many other running clubs out there, but runners, very seldom do you have people that are really cranky runners. You plug in that really fantastic energy and you get the juice and everything. There are multitudes of groups like that to plug into. And I think we need that to fortify our efforts and our spirit as we go through that process of discovery, because probably we'll have to keep our regular jobs as we do this. So this is going to be an extra job for us.
It's interesting what you said about running. Of course, that really hits home with me. As I shared with you, off camera, is that I ran to my new life. That was the way that I sort of could escape and have time on my own when I felt oppressed in my marriage. And one of the things we're going to be doing is actually launching a second act run walk club to give people that like you said, the energy that you get from being in that sort of an environment. It's not about going out there and winning 5Ks, 10Ks or whatever. It's about the socialization of it. So I totally agree with and love what you said there. Well, is there anything else that you'd want to add?
One thing that I would absolutely say that's so important for listeners to really understand, for viewers to really get, is that this process of going through and thinking about and looking after what your purpose might be is not necessarily for the faint of heart. Right? Okay, so let's brace yourself for that, right? So it means that you're going to go into uncharted territory, which can be scary right there in and of itself. And so you're going to need a support system. Be careful about who you socialize with, because some people will tell you, "Oh, don't do that. That's silly, and you should just stay with what you're doing." And but there's a piece of it too that is absolutely about growth, and growth is never ever easy or usually comfortable. So when you get to that place when you start to feel like, ooh, this is hard, and it will, if you're doing it right, that's what you're going to feel. You're really going to have to be ready to have the support and push through that and pull up your big girl or boy pants and just go for it, right? And
Oh my gosh, can I identify with that? I have one more question that I've kind of run across. When we talk about finding purpose and passion and really thinking of what you want out of life, is that selfish?
oh wow, I love that question. I could have a heyday with that question. And in a big fat word, no. And here's why. I think everybody wins when we are at our best, when we are living life as deeply and fully and powerfully and purposefully as we can. We become better human beings, we become better parents, we become better friends, we have more energy. I also think from the vantage point as a meaning and work researcher and somebody who does management consulting, that if more of us lived and went for our purpose, the GDP of our country would go up. Think about that, right? The ramifications. So it just cascades from our family to our community, into our organizations, into our cities, into our states, and across the country, and eventually across the world. So no, it's not selfish.
Elise, thank you. That what a great answer to a question that a lot of people ask themselves, or at least have asked me. So thank you so much again for joining us today. Again, we will link to your information. Be sure to tune to Elisa's radio program on Voices of America, Working on Purpose, and we'll have her back soon here on another segment of Second Act TV. Thanks again for joining us today. If you missed the previous segment with Elise, I've posted it right over here. Also, please be sure to subscribe to our program. Buttons right here. We appreciate your support. See you next time.